G'day guys, how's it going? Hello viewers out there in YouTube land. I hope you are well. Just a quick message from the Grey Wizard himself. Yeah, I actually looked up an online course on how to become a Grey Wizard, and when I went through the curriculum I realised that I ticked every box already. Like the quirky things that I've studied and done over the years qualify me as an actual Grey Wizard. But having said that aside, I just wanted to mention something, because I think it's quite topical at the moment, you know, with that congressional hearing on the UAP phenomena. A lot of stuff came out of that which is very dodgy. You know, random people just giving random testimonies about fairly random things and not really giving any concrete evidence, you know, to back up, you know, the claims that there are genuine, let's just say, extraterrestrial craft in our skies, or that there are extraterrestrial or EBs. They call them EBs, I think, don't they? Extraterrestrial. EB, something, biological entity, or whatever they're called. EBEs, extraterrestrial biological entity. EB. No, that's right, entity. Yep. Yeah. So anyhow, I'm just sort of catching up on my X-Files education, you know, with that stuff, EBEs and that. But you know, where are these things? I mean, I know there's a lot of speculation out there about the existence of aliens, and statistically, mathematically speaking, in a random universe, if this was a random universe, then statistically, mathematically, it resolves to absolutely yes, because there's virtually an infinite number of possibilities out there. You know, so the equation is very simple. It would have to resolve to an answer of 1 or yes. It's a definite possibility, or it's totally 100% that there would be other life in the universe outside of the Earth here, in a random universe. Right, but the biblical scriptures tell us that it's not a random universe. It's actually a planned universe, planned by God the Creator, and He planned it and put everything in motion, and everything is known from the beginning until the end of time in advance. So in a planned universe, there are no aliens. They don't exist because they're not a part of the plan. They're not in God's plan. There are no aliens in God's plan. Sorry. So that's what happens in a planned universe, which is what I believe. I've come to know through reading the scriptures, studying it, you know, looking outside of it, just observing with my own eyes things that go on, praying, getting into the spiritual side of life, you know, investigating everything as thoroughly as I can, just being an open-minded person about everything, but at some point stepping back objectively and saying, okay, there's enough evidence here for me that I'm totally convinced of the biblical truth. What is in the Bible is true. Historical evidence, archaeological evidence, eyewitness evidence, you know, it all just adds up. It's you know, it's beyond doubt, way beyond doubt. So people speculate about the existence of aliens, but as I say, they don't exist because they're not a part of the plan. So what does that leave behind that's biblical in nature? Well, you've got fallen angels, Nephilim, and evil spirits or demons. And so, where are these things? You know, where are they hiding? There's evidence to suggest that that fallen angels, even sort of like, you know, archaeological evidence or historical evidence, or anecdotal evidence or whatever from ancient civilizations and stuff, to suggest that fallen angels of course they've been here since we've been here, because they were here before we were here. Before we were created, there was angels in heaven, and they fell to earth with Lucifer. So yeah, they've been around since before us, and they've been influencing ancient civilizations and cultures. But they didn't come along and say, you know, we're the fallen angels, and we are your enemies. We're your sworn enemies. We hate you, and we're here to destroy. We're here to deceive and destroy you. They're not going to say that, are they? No. So they have to come up with a cover story. So if you were a fallen angel which doesn't look like a human being, you have a completely different physical appearance to a human being, how do you get around in ordinary society? How do you explain who you are and what your purpose is here to humanity? You can't just come out and tell the truth. You have to be deceptive, and that's the nature of evil anyhow. It's into lies and deception. So they're here to lie and deceive us, try to convince us not to believe in Jesus, the Son of God, and his message of the gospel of salvation. They want us to not believe in that, because they're here to try and destroy us, to make sure we don't get into heaven. So that is their plan. Sometimes they reveal themselves, but when they reveal themselves, they're giving a cover story as to who they are and what their intentions are. So they're going to say they're extraterrestrials, aliens from another planet or something, or whatever. That's their cover story. That's the only thing that that non-Christian humanity would be able to conceive of or believe. That these creatures that don't look like human beings could only be beings from another planet or another dimension or something like that, because they don't understand or believe in the idea of demons or fallen angels. So the rest of the world has to come to an understanding of this, and it does it in a way that is to be deceived by them into believing that they're aliens or extraterrestrials. So having said that, how still do they exist within it, you know, and where are they? Well, the Bible tells us that they fell to earth, that Satan or Lucifer and his angels fell to earth. Okay, so they are definitely here in this realm. And they're actually in control of it, because Satan or Lucifer is the prince of the world. So he has dominion over the world until the return of Christ. So he's actually in control of it. So all these governments and things that think they're in control, they're not. They're puppets of the devil and his fallen angels. What do? They're social influencers, basically. That's how they work, from the background, on the sidelines, influencing things. They're inciting violence, incite riots, instigating wars, things like that. That's what they do. It's all lie and deception. It's all about getting us to destroy each other, to be destroyed and to destroy each other. So that's what they're kind of plotting and doing all the time. Instigating, influencing, deceiving, trying to get us to destroy each other and be destroyed by a deception, by a lie. I know it's all very heady stuff and quite mind-boggling. It takes some time to come to terms with it, but you have to believe one truth or another. You know, either you're going to believe in the existence of little green men, aliens, or you're going to have to come to terms with the truth that's in the Bible. There are demons and fallen angels, and there were hybrid creatures which were a product of the breeding between fallen angels and humanity. They're called Nephilim. They were around before the flood, and the seed of them still exists today. So the Nephilim are probably a part of the demonic evil spirits side of spiritual reality as well. So, but how do these creatures, getting back to my point, how do they exist in our society, or have they existed in our society over the ages? Well, as I said, one way is to use a cover story to say that they're aliens. It's kind of been building up to that, for the unveiling of them to come out and say, oh, okay, here we are. We've been hiding behind closed doors. We've got secret bases, even underground cities or whatever, where we've been hiding and orchestrating things from the background. We've been flying around in, demoned technology, that's way ahead of ours, and cloaking themselves, basically. So, but what are they doing, and how do they walk around among us? Well, it's a case of really hiding in plain sight. They're not necessarily behind closed doors or at secret bases or in underground cities or whatever. They can actually be out on the streets walking around among us. But how do they do that if their physical appearance is different to ours? Well, obviously they're able to disguise their physical appearance somehow. And I guess over the years, through faith, through prayer, through the gaining of spiritual gifts, I've been able to have a greater awareness of what's going on around me in the spiritual sense. I can perceive things spiritually that I wasn't able to when I was a younger person, because I've developed my spiritual ability, things like discernment and abilities like that. I've grown those abilities over the years. My faith has grown, my spiritual abilities have grown over the years, and my eyes have opened to the spiritual realm a lot more, so that I can start to see things on a spiritual level that I couldn't see before. So this stuff is spiritually perceived and understood. It's spiritually understood through the Holy Spirit in us, and it's spiritually perceived as well. So you're not going to be able to see these people the way that a person who has developed their spiritual perception is able to. So just this evening I was walking down the street, and this person was walking towards me wearing a dark overcoat which had a hood on it. It wasn't a hoodie, it was an overcoat. So it was a fairly long coat which reached down to the person's knees. I think they were wearing like black trousers and red shoes, of all things. Red running shoes, black trousers and a dark overcoat which had a hood on it. They walked towards me, and they had their thumb in their mouth like this, covering up their face. But I could see their eyes and their forehead. And their complexion was grey. The eyes I could see or the face I could see, what part of it I could see, had a grey complexion, not a normal skin colour, not an African dark skin colour, a grey complexion, like a grey alien. And the bone structure of the forehead was not human, like quite raised ridges where the eyebrows would be, but there were no eyebrows. So, I didn't see the lower part of the face, but just the upper part of the face. But would have looked like, I think if I had seen the whole face, would have looked like a grey alien face. But I think what gives them away is the clothing that they dress in. Typically they tend to wear black hoodies, or in this case, this was a black hooded overcoat. Maybe this person was a higher ranking fallen angel than some of the others who get around in just your generic black hoodie. The black overcoat might be a higher ranking one. I don't know. But I could still see with spiritual perception that this was not a normal human being, that this was a person or a creature walking around in public that was able to disguise their appearance. Because at the point that they did remove their hand from their face, suddenly they had a human face. I could then see a human face. So it's kind of like, it's a matrix of perception out there. There's what is perceived in the physical world, and there's what is perceived in the spiritual world. And it creates kind of, the spiritual creates like this matrix. So you can't see the spiritual unless you have spiritual perception. So you can't really see that reality. But as I said, I've developed the ability to be able to see it, but they can block it as well, I've noticed. They notice that you notice, and you can see them. You can see what their appearance is. That's why they're covering their face and stuff, because they're hiding the fact that they have this demonic appearance. So they're trying to cover it up. They know spiritually that I can see what they really look like. So they're trying to cover that up, and they probably at some point then kind of turn up the cloaking device. It's a spiritual type of thing, but they obviously have to turn it up in my case, so that, hang on, this guy can see through, the deception. So we have to turn it up louder, to go back to appearing like a human being. But as I said, that's the answer to it. Where are they? They're walking around among us, but they're actually hiding in plain sight. You can't see what they look like unless you've got the ability to, with a spiritual perception. And even then, you'll only really catch glimpses of it, because they become aware that you can see what they look like, and they prevent you from seeing any further. Yeah, so it's a creepy reality out there, once you've got this level of spiritual perception. But the one thing I can say is they are identifiable by the clothing that they wear. For some bizarre reason, they go with virtually a uniform of black clothes and hoods, like dark priests, I suppose you could say. They're dressing like a dark priest, which they are, effectively. So there you are. So don't believe the alien deception. There are no aliens, but there are fallen angels, there are demons, there are Nephilim crossover creatures, which could be all manner of evil things. There is truth in most mythology, or probably all of it. Creatures like vampires, werewolves, all this kind of stuff is the stuff of legends. But what are they really? Well, I would suggest that they're actually hybrid creatures. They're what the Bible refers to as Nephilim. So a hybrid of a fallen angel, a demonic creature with a human being. So you get a sort of humanoid, demonic crossover creature. So and they're more animalistic. They're less human, more animalistic. So it makes perfect sense that you get someone that's like a bat. The devil himself has got wings, hasn't he? He'd be like, well, he's more like a dragon, but the wings and stuff, bats have wings, so a bat-like humanoid creature, a vampire, a wolf-like humanoid creature, a werewolf. So that's what the crossovers are. A monkey-like humanoid creature, a Bigfoot. You start to get the picture, okay? So I'll leave you with those bizarre thoughts. They're hiding in plain sight. And, keep praying, keep reading your Bible. Keep your eyes open, keep your mind open. And at one point you will get to the level that I'm at, and then you've got to try and deal with that reality in your own way, But it's just affirming the truth of what's in the Bible. I'm not telling you anything that's outside of what's in the Bible. you know, and I don't believe anything outside of what's in the Bible. I'm just a normal Christian, like many other Christians that are out there. You know, perhaps I've delved into it a bit more deeply and been sort of willing to think outside the box of traditional church teachings, because they don't delve into this stuff. They don't teach a lot of this stuff. They don't teach hardly any of it. I think maybe the Catholic Church, you know, teaches more than Protestant churches does on these kind of topics, you know, because they do have things like the rite of exorcism and stuff like that, you know. So they do have, you know, an understanding of the demonic world, you know, within the teachings of the Catholic Church. They don't dwell on it, and they don't teach a lot of it to their parishioners. It's kind of more or less secret knowledge for, you know, the priesthood or high-ranking people within the Catholic Church, you know. So it's not kind of for a mainstream church community consumption, and maybe that's a good thing. It's too freaky, too scary, you know, for mainstream churchgoers to try and come to terms with that, you know, to know that these things are out there. Would just freak a lot of people out, you know. So God bless, and I'll talk to you guys next time.